Hey everybody, welcome back to Heal Yourself Naturally. So happy to see you both, Sara and Hava. My name is Nicole Dromi. We are going to go straight into it. If you have seen the last few episodes, you know that we're diving much deeper into our topics now. And last episode, we mentioned that we're going to go into head, nose, and throat. Head, yes, head, nose, and throat. Everything in the head, basically. Ears, nose, throat, head. Um, we are going to break these podcasts into a lot of them, so get ready. It's a ton of information. Today we're starting with our lovely head, mainly our hair. So many products out there that are a lot of consumers are all about, like, how do I get my hair to stop thinning, to grow more, baldness, all that stuff. So we're going to be covering a lot of it today to give you guys some solutions and reasons for why this is happening to you. We always like to go into the reasoning behind why is it happening, not what we can just, shove into our mouths in order to make it stop. So let's go straight into it. Let's talk about hair thinning, hair loss. I think we should start with that, hair thinning and hair loss. And obviously there are diseases that go hand in hand with some of this, but let's talk about all in all, hair loss and hair thinning. Hava, what do you believe the main reason for that is, and some suggestions to combat with hair loss and hair thinning?
Okay, so hair loss and hair thinning, as usually, as soon I hear the problem, I right away in my mind think about nutrient deficiency because we see nutrient deficiency and lack of blood circulation. Those two things are the one that feeds our hair, and as soon we are lacking the nourishment, then the hair falls off. And thinning as well. I mean, there is much more. It could be also hormonal imbalance. There could be stress. There is a lot of things, but mainly nutrient deficiency because I cannot say mainly. I think all of them are. It's so funny to. Okay, so nutrient deficiency, lack of circulation. Sara, I'll leave it for you. but yes, obviously stress and many other things are all included into that. Now, how to treat it? Every individual have their own uh, um, um, own case. Every individual has their own case. So for some of them, it could be a stress, lack of money, hard to get money. So if you see the many males who are getting into this stress, especially to bring money to the table, they usually start balding very quickly. And so that's usually because of stress. Now many women, they have issues because they have a lack of nourishment, and then the hair is thinning and falling off. So what are the best ways to do is, first of all, to find the root of all the problems. See, the whole idea is always look, what is my main cause? I always we go get to the basics. What is the main cause of the problem? So if for someone is stressed, then they will need to learn how to manage the stress, right? They need to learn how to do maybe breathing exercise, take care of themselves, love themselves. If someone who for them is the lack of nourishment, so they, which is in most cases is a lack of nourishment, then you need to provide the proper food. And what is the proper food? The food is about obviously healthy diet, fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and that can be connected to digestion because we are what we eat, and we cannot digest process the food correctly, then we are in problem. So you will need to tap it down the issue of digestion, so you will absorb and digest the food correctly. And then I usually like to say, nourishment, you remember when we speak about nourishment, it's about your blood. So when it comes to the hair, circulation are the most important because this is what will send the nourishment over that area. So so this is what I would say as the beginning, and there is many other things that we can cover through our podcast today, but this is kind of the basics for me. Is nourishment, take care the gut flora, take care your digestion, elimination, and obviously if there's a stress, get rid of the stress. And yeah, and there's many herbs, and we'll probably will cover it.
Okay. So mainly, well, would you say that predisposed like genetics could go into like could be a factor?
Yeah, that's another very good. Yes, this is another important. I've seen that many people who come from the who are Persian or Georgians, they do have the problem that they are inherited this from their parents, like my uncle and my father, and they all bald here. And I see that many Persian people have baldness here. Uh, so yeah, that can be also inherited, yes, but
Right.
usually comes in the man side, not so much on the female side. So
So, okay,
I
so I
didn't see
understand.
females, they get suddenly, lost a lot of hair. It's usually men's, and that's inherited. And that's a tricky way to treat. I don't know if there is a way actually to treat it besides the hair implant. Oy vey, what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't think there is a way. That's just genetics and very hard to get rid of it.
Okay, so Sarah, what do you believe? What are some additional, if you have anything to add on to what Hava said, what are some additional reasons for hair thinning or hair loss in men and women? And you
Thyroid,
can categorize each to be different because they could be.
yeah. So thyroid problems are probably number one that I see in the shop. You know, it's actually a common issue people ask me about all the time is um how do I get my hair to be thicker like, when it was when I was younger? And sometimes you just, have nailed it. Nutritional deficiencies, lack of assimilation. I see a lot of people with poor nutrition and poor mineral assimilation. So getting your minerals in your diet is important. But I think thyroid is one of the most common reasons why people. So I mean, thyroid problems being. I've seen it both with hypo, which is low thyroid function, and hyper, which is high thyroid function. And we're also seeing lack of eyebrows from like here out. And we see a lot of balding right here on the top of the head. Um, I also know that some of these birth controls, when I was using the NuvaRing, and I know other women who were using NuvaRing, and there's all these weird birth controls that the injections and the Norplants but the NuvaRing, I stopped it because I noticed I was just pulling my hair out, and this was when I was younger. I don't want to do the math. It was at least a decade ago, because I don't do birth control anymore, but it was a while ago. And I was just like pulling my hair out. So birth control, but I think that's thyroid. I
Right.
still think we circle back to thyroid on that.
Because
So
of the hormonal
because of
changes
the
and whatnot.
hormones. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's common in type 2 diabetes, but I think it's, the hair loss, but we're coming back to thyroid. And many you know, hormone imbalances in general contribute to hair loss. And that includes stress. So we're back to thyroid in many of the, because thyroid really controls metabolism and how your cellular function is regenerating all the new cells and that whole business. So when your thyroid is low functioning, this is what we see is hair loss.
Okay. All
Boom.
right. Boom. We did have a podcast on hormones and we did talk about thyroid. So if, but we're going to cover like what things you could use also, I
Yeah.
think. But what do you, that was mainly for women, although thyroid issues do show up in men, hormonal changes in men, obviously as well. But do you have any, what could be the reason other than stress factors in a male that would increase hair loss or hair thinning?
Besides male pattern balding,
Yeah,
maybe some kind of fungal infection.
right.
Like that's
Okay.
like that's just, so I guess the
Yeah,
answer
it's
would be
case to
yeah.
case basis, just like every
Yeah.
other, like every disease or symptom in the body. It's case to case basis. That's why it's really hard to generalize. Like when people are going out to buy products, they're generalizing as an issue. Like you need more biotin, but right there's like
B
products that are
vitamins,
The
yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
yeah, supplements that are really not getting to the core of the issues. So what are some suggestions for hair thinning in terms of herbal for herbal uses, either ingested over the head, and some exercises for stimulating circulation on the head. Oh, I also wanted to mention products, right? Hair products that people use. So if
Oh
you're a
yeah.
male that because I know that this could be an issue if someone is using like is heavy handed most of their life on like gels or waxes or things like that. Highly recommended to wash out after the day, whether it is in the shower or just literally stick your head under a sink and soap it out, wash it out. Also with women with hair products that they're using, um, highly recommended to wash those products out and then leave your hair product free. But what are some herbal suggestions that you have for people, Sarah?
Well, I just want to mention too, you kind of made me think about this. Um, some shampoos. I bought a shampoo not too long ago, and it was more of the cheaper one, and I started losing hair. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And my daughters were noticing the same thing because we were using similar shampoo. So cheap shampoo. I don't know what the hell they're putting in shampoos, but you shouldn't lose your hair when you
When
wash
you're washing it.
it. Your products shouldn't do that. And I also want to mention after COVID, almost to the month after
Right.
COVID, I was losing hair. Like we're talking like pulling clumps out. And I think that had to do with the blood. There was an issue, a change in the blood after COVID. And I really have a feeling that that was part of it. So we're back to circulation, we're back to the blood, we're back to, nutrient deficiencies. So, okay. So what would I suggest herbally? Well, definitely like what Hava was saying is gut health because a lot of our B vitamins you need a really good diverse microbiome in order to really facilitate, especially biotin and B12. And I do know for a fact that when people start taking and supplementing B vitamins, they start to grow their hair back. So there's something with supplementing B vitamins or even just getting on a good probiotic that facilitates that. So it's not herbal necessarily, but it is a supplement.
Right.
My go-tos for building hair, growing hair is building blood.
Yep.
Okay. So a lot of
So
my blood builders I'm using to help with the hair. So number one is nettle leaf. Nettle leaf is so nutritive. It has all the trace minerals that your body needs. It's a tonic plant. It helps increase kidney filtration. It's just this wonderful plant that it's a green leafy, and it's super cheap. So nettle all day long, nettle. I love even just blackstrap molasses has a wonderful mineral profile. So I would be
Right.
doing molasses. I actually make a blood builder that has molasses, nettles, and some other herbs like yellow dock a little bit that has wonderful iron in it.
Right.
Um, anything, oat straw, anything with a good mineral content will help. You're building the blood, you're helping the hair. But minerals to build the hair. Also, things with protein. And nettle has an amazing amount of plant-based protein. And, we're using nettle all day long for hair. Um, what else? Romani root, which is this
I've never
Chinese
heard that.
root. Yeah, it's a Chinese root that is like traditionally it was soaked in wine and then smoked. but you have to cook it before you take it in. And when you buy it, it looks like big blood clots, basically. They look like smushed raisins, or when you taste it, it's chewy. And when you put it in tea, it makes a super dark tea. And again, where the minerals in it are amazing, and they're all very, very water soluble. So it makes a really nice tea or decoction. And we're using that to build the blood and to get minerals into the body. So I guess I'll stop there. Those are probably my go-tos.
Okay.
Yeah, and anything that will increase circulation to the head. I'm sure
Yeah.
Hava's
Hava
gonna
has
say
some cool
cayenne.
methods. Yeah. Okay. Hava, what are your favorite herbs for hair growth production to combat with thinning and losing of the hair? Or
Okay,
some methods,
so
not just that, also mineral, increasing mineral intake, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what would you suggest a
right,
client that came in with this issue?
right. So maybe we should mention for everyone that when we speak about iodine deficiency, that you can actually check your iodine deficiency by applying Lugol's iodine over your inner elbow, and then just really monitoring how long it takes for this color disappear from your inner elbow. And if you see that disappears less than 24 hours, in most cases, the person is very deficient. And so in that case, we should supplement. And that, thank you, Sara, for mentioning this important mineral, which is very important. And many ladies, as well as men, are suffering from iodine deficiency. I think in males, usually iodine is more, works like, cause more problems with their behavior and with their stress and stuff. And by females, they're different, but it's not for this topic. Next, horsetail. Oh, I love horsetail so much. And horsetail can be applied, and you can prepare a tea and actually wash your hair with a horsetail. And another wonderful a product that's in the market, it's a pure silica, which is made with a horsetail as a main ingredient. So the horsetail is incredible to really helps to build up. And then rosemary, obviously, right? We spoke about the rosemary. Rosemary is so good. And you can prepare these teas and then just wash your hair. And then there is another one, sage is good, lavender, chamomile, all this beautiful. And also those herbal teas are not only feeding your roots, but they also help to change the color. Now, as we age, we actually do get a little bit grayish. Well, that comes because of mineral deficiencies, right? In most cases, it's a zinc. In some cases, it's mostly is iron deficiency, where we are not getting enough iron, so it's right away will reflect your color. And another important mineral that is incredible and can be prepared as an oil as well is amla, which is very high in vitamin C. And in India, they actually use it a lot as a supplement. They have even shampoos that made with amla, shampoos that made with, not shampoos, but oils that made with amla. So there's many ways. Amla is incredible. So I would suggest just add herbal vitamin C into your
And
diet.
Indian people have amazing hair, even like Indian
I
people.
know,
Their
right?
color, they lack grays. It's like something something that they're
Uh-huh.
eating, obviously.
And
Uh,
fenugreek also is very good. It's very good for hair as well. So you can actually make your own infusion by having a little bit castor oil. Let's say I can come up with a quick oils idea. So you can use, let's say, half cup of a castor oil, let's say, and then you can use either, I don't know about the coconut, but I would suggest, let's say, olive oil or wheat germ oil. You can also use almond oil, light oils. So that way the castor will kind of, will work, blend nicely. And then you can add powders into there. You can add, let's say, tablespoon of nettle, tablespoon of horsetail. You can do just tablespoons. And then just let it simmer or sit by the sun, and then you can infuse it. Oh, add some cayenne. Oh, Hava, I
There
forgot
it
the
is.
cayenne. Basically, a little bit cayenne. Don't do whole tablespoon of the cayenne, because if you will do, then you will your head will be on fire. Invisible fire, right? But yeah, cayenne creates circulation, right? So you can prepare this oil and keep it on the window where there is very sunny and warm, and then strain this oil and from the herbs, and then you'll get a powerful oil. Just you need to know how to use it. Don't use too much, just a 1 drop. Many people think that we should use like tablespoon of nah, we don't need this. We just need the 1 drop and just bring it in. And you can buy these brushes that now available on Amazon that really can, scrub.
Increase circulation.
Yeah, and I actually, whenever I speak with some hairstylists, and I speak with them, and I want to know like what their suggestions are, how they look at the hair, how they so. And very interesting, because maybe everybody knows, and I'm the only one who just realized, at age 47. Okay, who cares? Better now than ever. The idea of that, actually, when we apply shampoo, we apply on the hair, but that's not why shampoo is there. Shampoo needs to be applied exactly on the scalp, and then you need to take a brush and really brush it, like scrub it, so that way the scalp will start removing the toxins. And the same thing comes to the skin, if you remember, right? You remember that we speak about scrubbing the skin? Or the same thing comes to the hair. We need to scrub this, and that will help to remove the mites, the parasites. Yeah, we people have mites growing in their hair. That's why the hair falls off and they have these flakes. It's because there is a bacteria, there is a mites who are growing in, eating your hair, and then the hair falls off. So to prevent that, you need to bother them. How you bother them? By really scrubbing your scalp. And then actually conditioner is not so important. You can use afterwards, like there is a nice gentle sprays that you can make, and then just apply it to protect the hair if you use the hair and blow dryers. So basically it's so simplified matter. And and I realized that because I said, like, sometimes I'm buying this shampoo and that shampoo and this shampoo and this shampoo, this and that, this is suddenly flakes, this one, this, like, why? And then he explained, no, what you don't understand, it's not for your hair, it's for your scalp. And that's so important. It's really work it out this way. So I'm very thankful for this. Since then, I realized as more I scrub, I have no problem with flakes. Otherwise, if you go to like third world countries and the water is not clean or something, but in most cases, it really helps just to understand that. So yeah, so that's what I would suggest. And what else? If you want to protect your hair, there is a beautiful tree oil massage that you can make. I don't know how comfortable it is to sleep with the oils on your head, but
There's really like nowadays, I'm sorry to cut you off, but nowadays if people search enough, you could there's shower, like silk wraps on the outside, like shower caps that really stay on the head, so that if you do an oil treatment, you can definitely save your pillow, because that's a big
right,
thing too.
there is, but I just, like, everyone is so individual. Let's say if I apply something, I cannot sleep, it bothers me, but everyone is individual. Some people can
Right.
go to sleep with the
Or if you know that you are
bubble over their
staying,
head,
or
that's
if you
fine.
know that you're staying home for most of the day, like a lazy Sunday or whatever it is, you could do this treatment early in the morning and stay with it throughout the whole day, and then wash out at night. So
Yeah.
so people are typically doing some of these treatments at nighttime because you're sleeping the whole night. And so it's really just the prolonged hours that the treatment should be in your hair. But then again, if you do have the option of staying at home, doesn't even have to be a weekend. If you have a lazy day at home, regardless, no work, whatever it is, treat yourself and do a head treatment. Always massage these oils or these teas that or herbs if you're making a concoction to put on the head. So like Hava said, create a great amount of circulation in the head. There's also that my hair. There's also that really amazing I know we all played with it as a child, but like something, like those
Berlin,
prawns.
I have
Yeah,
it.
my daughter has
Yeah,
one.
you do have that.
The head massager. Yep.
It's a head massager, but it's also, it gets your nerves going and increases circulation on the
Yeah.
scalp. So it's something like that too. So if you have the ability, if you're at your
Oh,
computer
so
desk working
good.
all day and you can do
Oh,
that, I'm fluffing up my gorgeous hair right now.
Yeah.
If you could do that, go for it and increase circulation, because even if you are taking these things, you should work
why
on the
did you
outside.
mention that? Oh
I
my
know, right?
gosh,
You
it's
love it.
so good.
So you
Oh,
should work on the outside as well as the inside.
Sarah,
You
take it.
always
I
want
can.
double the work when you're healing. So even if you we're always talking about increasing circulation. Even if you have a stomach issue and you're taking certain herbs, probiotics, etc., to combat the stomach issues, also give yourself a stomach massage. Love on the outside of your body as well as the inside, because you're just going to increase the success rate, and also the time that it'll take to see results. So you'll see things faster if you're doing both on the inside or the
Yes.
outside.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Right. So both of you guys briefly touched on other topics of today's podcast,
We
but
forgot something
yeah.
very important.
Oh, headstands. Hava, what about your headstands that you used to
You're
talk
gonna do
about all
a
the time?
How
headstand?
did you know it? This is the
I know, because
headstand.
she looked like
Um,
she was about to go upside down.
like you're gonna show us your headstand.
I'm not gonna do it
She
now
has a
unless you want to see my
headstand
panties.
chair, okay? She takes it
But
very seriously.
this is a reverse that you put your head and your
Oh, I
feet
see.
up. So that's called feet up, and I suggest this for everyone who wants to bring circulation toward the head. It really helps to bring and regrow hair. You might say, well, why? Because you send a new blood, and remember, it's all about providing nourishment. Your blood is your food, and
Right.
most times we forget about that, and that actually just reversing yourself headstands, it's absolutely head inversion,
You
right?
could
This is
use
how
one
it's
of
called.
those inversion chairs too, right? I mean, I see a lot of people with those.
Right.
The
You know what
problem
I'm
with
saying? They
those,
go up and then they help stretch your back too at the same
I
time.
agree. The only problem that I have with these inversions that you kind of don't feel your body because you kind of dependent and you're just like, and you never know when to stop. But
Oh,
when you do the headstand, you feel it, and the body
yeah.
tells you, okay, enough, And I've had couple cases where people really damage their their necks because they've done it for a long time. They said, oh, it's just so good. So now let's say 15 minutes, we're gonna eat and drink. I'm just joking, but with the head down, it all depends
Right. And
also
if
on
you can't
learning.
afford something like the headstand chair, you could come up with different methods where basically
Yeah.
your head has to hang upside down. So if you have a couch, bed, sofa, let your head hang off just a little bit, even if it's just for a minute or less, that right? Or just, and
And
if
then
you,
don't forget the clapping, right? We speak
yeah,
about not only massages but clapping, and I actually saw an interview of one woman who was doing the clapping over the head. They did a full session for a couple months, and it's not just, she didn't change anything in her diet, no food, like everything the same, but because she would woke up in the morning and do clapping, the hair got darker, and the hair growth
Hmm.
begin. So just
Great.
let's say if you didn't learn nothing from or forgot everything that we taught today, just remember, clap over your head. It's incredible. It's
Hmm.
just absolutely incredible.
right. And also, I'd like to mention A lot of people that hold tension in their shoulders, you're decreasing oxygen to the brain because of the tension and sore muscles and stuff like that. Even so, getting massages, is a huge perk,
Great
as
idea.
well as lymphatic drainage massages. I know that lymphatic drainage massages not only clear toxins, they let proper blood flow and also increases oxygen to the brain, which increases blood flow to the brain, et cetera, et cetera. So, and to the head. On the topic of hairdressers, or, this is widely known by a lot of hairdressers, and if they're good and they're kind to their clients, they'll tell you this. But your favorite, Hava, hydrotherapy. So, a lot of very good hairdressers will tell you that if you're washing your head out with hot water, then always finish your shower with cold and make sure that you're washing your hair out with cold water. Why? Because you're increasing. They're like, yeah, it's great for your hair. It's great for your hair. Why is it great for your hair? Because you're increasing circulation to your head, thus far increasing the growth and etc. So if you want to do that for your showers now, then hot water, cold water, and it's great for the entire body regardless. So even if you can't handle the whole body and you just want to shove your head under the shower head and do hot and cold, you are increasing circulation to your head. So let's jump onto the topic of baldness. Why do we get bald? Why are we getting bald?
Why
I
do
mean,
we get bald? You
why?
mean
I don't know.
gray?
It's
You mean gray or bald?
baldness was on our list of things to discuss today.
Oh yeah.
Baldness. Yeah.
That's like genetic though. I'm pretty
It
sure.
is genetic. It could also be, autoimmune issues.
But
So
that's
there's
could be it's alopecia.
alopecia,
Alopecia.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But so should we talk a little bit
Oh
about
yeah.
Yeah,
things? Yeah.
Yeah.
alopecia is incredible,
I know.
and
I
many
I
people
just asked
suffering.
about baldness. I hoped that you guys would say alopecia, but
Well,
I
yeah,
guess
alopecia
I'm
is
throwing crumbs. I'm throwing crumbs. I want you guys to go for it,
Well, for
right?
all I know about baldness is like, well, there's the men who are bald, like my grandfather was bald. I always thought that was genetic from the mother's side. But then there's the alopecia, which we touched upon this when we did the digest. That was the first podcast. And I had mentioned the microbiome and Dr. Sabine Hazan, who was doing all these fecal transplants, and she's actually
Oh, yes, I remember this.
right, and she's looking at all the people's microbiome, getting all these fecal samples and looking at and diversity of the microflora, the bacteria in the gut is so important, and she actually did a fecal transplant and someone's alopecia went away. So it really speaks to the alopecia, which is weird balding, right? It's like, to me,
Spots.
it's not a
Right.
normal like, oh, this guy just went bald because, whatever, genetics. It's weird balding, because it's like a patch of no
It's
hair
clumps
growing.
that
Yeah.
just completely fall out,
And
right?
so it speaks to that being a gut problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I also think that when there's a gut problem, there's probably bacteria that are growing in the hair. I'd mentioned fungal. Maybe it's fungal, but maybe it's bacterial. So
right.
like the bacteria is just colonizing on the head, just like the bad bacteria is colonizing in the gut. Because I really feel like, the skin and the gut are like sister or brother,
They're
organs.
images,
They're
yeah,
mirroring
mirrors.
each
Yeah,
other. Absolutely.
exactly.
So when someone says, Sarah, I have, just as an example, it's not baldness, but like, Sarah, just the other day, I have yeast. Yeast is a perfect example of, you know, the gut and the skin, because you have yeast overgrowth on the skin, you certainly have it in the gut. We talk about this all the time. So,
Right.
And then on the hair as well, flakes.
right. So I
Dandruff.
guess
Yeah.
I guess that speaks to alopecia being a gut microbiome or microbiota or flora, whatever the heck you want to call it. They're always changing the verbiage on it, so to keep up with
Right.
it. But
To
so
keep
Yes,
us on our
diversity is
toes.
key, and that's, all disease begins in the gut. So,
Right.
100%.
yeah.
I've
Yes.
seen so I've had the one time a case of a parent who brought a child who suddenly started experiencing alopecia, and when I went over the health history, and it was just a young child, and usually like there's not much stressors in the life. It looked like everything is fine, and then I started asking questions, and then the father actually worked for the vaccine company, and I'm the one, like, speak my mind. I'm like, okay, looks like there is some sort of a toxicity in the body. I mean, would you willing not to stop, like you should stop vaccinating, because I've seen many times where the children who've been vaccinated, kind of immune system goes hectic,
Haywire, yeah.
and then there is a problems with alopecia, and he said that he will never stop vaccinating. And I just said, okay, in that case there's nothing what to speak about. And I just finished the meeting, because I felt like this is the only thing that was bothering the child, and it was so close to the time the child been vaccinated, that it was like just so like visible to the eye that this is a side effect of that. Another thing that I would mention is that many young girls, but not only, the boys also who go through the puberty and stuff like that, and they want to be fit, and they go on the strict diets, and they suddenly they've been eating normal food, eating junky, and then suddenly, because they want to fit to the certain dress, now they go on an absolute crazy diet where they basically are starving themselves. The hair will start falling off, and alopecia might appear. And I did had couple cases where it was right before the wedding. So my first question was, did you go to the diet? And the girls would say, yes, we went on this nice, like a very strict diet. We just ate the apple maybe a day. And then, like,
Three
you
walnuts
just,
and an apple. No, sorry.
Holy
right?
shit.
Yeah, but like, I'm just an apple, or maybe like a cucumber, but mainly it was just a liquid. I'm like, what do you mean? And that brings a stress, and then the hair falls off again. Comes, as a Sarah said, we all the time go back to the gut. If you don't provide nourishment, then your blood has nothing to give here. Nothing. The blood is empty, and it goes drained up to your head, and like gets there. It's like, what should I feed you? There's nothing what to feed. Here, get the fall off.
Yeah,
Leave
and
me
can you
alone.
imagine the microbiome changes when you stop feeding it too?
It's just,
It's
it's
like
just
both of those things.
yeah,
Just it's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing, and that's what. So do not go on crazy diets, and don't think there is a quick fixes. There's another thing. Like, do you think that if you go on a crazy, oh, and it's also connected obviously to the suddenly no more bleeding, suddenly no more periods. It's like so connected. You'll see right away if you're under the stress, suddenly period disappear and the hair start falls out.
Yep.
So it's because you're not providing nourishment. So yeah, that's why it's so important really to feed, and don't go on crazy diets and stuff like that. And another thing, don't put too much, like on your head. And don't. And another very important thing is, don't bother using every day something on your hair. There's like, when I was growing young, I remember we would use gel, and like there was gel. Everything was supposed to be like sleek and like this. And I remember, like, if you would touch it, the hair would just break into pieces, because so this is not a good idea. I mean, just love the way you are. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, we know we live in a day where
Oh
everybody
yeah.
feels like they have to look a certain way. So we're trying to help people who are who are feeling wanting to look the part, but then their body suffers. So mainly the issue with hair is it's connected to the gut. Obviously, like everything in your body, people, like we keep saying this, everything's connected to the gut, as well as circulation issues and huge lack of minerals, so mineral deficiency. So feed your body proper, all of the minerals that it needs. In women, it could be thyroid issues. In men, stress is a huge factor. So decreasing stress, feeding the body properly. So those are huge things to do when you're getting hair thinning, baldness, hair loss. Um, you briefly touched, Hava, on graying, saying that it's also a mineral issue. Do you
Yeah.
have any? Do you have any other suggestions for graying hair? Because I know, for example, because if anybody remembers, if you've looked back, we did a whole podcast on how to make your own medications where we chose specifically rosemary, and it was a lot. Yeah. But we also said that it can help with graying. So if you're washing out, or it can darken your hair. I remember hearing, or we had someone that came to talk that you were doing or something like that, and they said that they had gray hairs, but then the roots were starting to grow back black because of something that you were helping them
Yarrow.
do.
Yarrow.
Yarrow.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's
yarrow
hear
is
it.
known. Yarrow, black walnut. Yeah, so you can prepare a tea, but from yes, there is a yarrow washes you can do. You can use chamomile, which is for the more blonde hair. But listen, honestly, from everything that I learned about the graying, unfortunately, comes again to the when the blood is not most people who are graying are deficient in minerals, and it doesn't matter if you really wash your hair with yarrow, but your digestion, again, if you have anemia, you're gonna get white. It doesn't matter what you're gonna do. So yes, might provide a little bit nourishment, but don't expect the results that I'm just washing with the yarrow and my hair will grow up brown or whatever. No, it needs to be in combination, the work in the both ways. So let's say someone like me who is anemic, it's not easy, to treat the gray hairs, because anemia is it's a big problem, and most females are suffering from it. So yeah, but herbs like black walnut helps, and to color a little bit the hair, as well as yarrow. But I said again, combination. It needs to work internally and externally.
Right. So
Otherwise,
what would
don't
you
start
suggest to someone who is graying, right? And what would you suggest for them to do, to take internally and to do externally? Like I said right before this,
right.
like
So
we're
so
working
so
both hand in hand.
it always comes together, right? So first of all, you need to be patient, and I found taking zinc, but not every day, maybe twice or three times a week. Zinc needs to be in a wholesome state as much as it possible. The standard process zinc is very good, and then I would use minerals like we mentioned in the beginning, which is the nettles and the horsetail. They are the ones who are absolutely incredible. Vitamin C is a must every single day, so that way your body will help to create a shield, and it really helps. Vitamin C is so essential for your hair, for the color of your hair. It's essential for your nails and all the. It's so important, right? So then I would suggest that, and then I would also suggest what I would suggest molasses. And molasses are very, very important as well. So all this in combination can work very nicely. I mean, that's what I would say. Yeah. So you can prepare even your own superfoods. It's so simple to make your own. You just go on Amazon, look for nettles, ground powdered nettles, right? Then go get yourself an horsetail. Just use less horsetail, not too much, but less. Vitamin C, mix some habanero, add some amla, some camu, some pineapple, like that, throw them in there, and just mix them with your smoothies, and you'll see how much more nourishment you start getting, and your hair will start getting darker. And if you do the herbs that I mentioned previously, as well as Sara, prepare the tea and wash it in combination, it will make a miracles. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. But do not expect fast miracles. Okay, it takes time.
Right. Of course. Also, if trying to increase hair growth, it'll take time. It's not going to be like after a week, oh my God, my hair started growing back. No,
Right.
especially when you're
Many
working with
people
hair.
they expect that this
No,
kind of
especially
change
if
will
you're working
happen.
with hair too, you just have to know that hair, like if you're waiting for it to get to desired length as well, this will take time. It's not something that can happen over time. Sarah, do you have any suggestions for graying hair?
Well, I do. I also think that it is a natural process that people at some point need to just embrace. Unless you just
Yes.
want to continue to dye your hair, that's fine too. But what I would do is certainly increase antioxidants in your diet. So, yeah, amla and camu and all those are really nice. I mean, I like beets. Beets is a superfood. Blueberries, the berries, anything high in antioxidants are really good. That's going to help build good microbiome too. But I think probably one of the most important things in regards to graying is managing stress. I mean, so many times I see these stories of these people are like, yeah, I had a really stressful period of time, and then all of a sudden most of my hair turned gray. And stress and the stress hormones, they do something negative to the body, right? In many different ways. But I would say managing your stress on a daily basis is really, really important. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that and not even have to take an herb. You don't have to spend any money at all managing stress. And so I always, when I just had somebody in the Reiki table today, porcupine comes in for this person. Well, what's porcupine about? Porcupine's about boundaries. And so many people we are stressed out because we don't understand in part we don't understand what a good boundary is. So we take on other people's stuff or we step over the line and start getting into other people's business. And so create your boundary and that will reduce your stress because then you will be less apt to have to deal with other people's stuff that you shouldn't be involved in, and you'll not allow other people to be involved in your stuff, and that's always less stressful as far as I'm concerned. So that's
Not in the line of work that you ladies work in because you're in everybody's stuff. But yes,
but
definitely.
people ask us, that's the most important
I
thing,
know.
right?
Exactly.
We are
Right.
asked to get into their stuff, but if I'm not asked, I don't get into their stuff. So create good boundaries.
Right.
Do deep breathing. Take time out of your day. It doesn't have to be for a half an hour. It can be 5-minute intervals scattered throughout the day. Breathe. Take a breath.
Right.
And you don't have to go into some deep, meditation.
Meditation. Yeah.
It's just breathe. Be present. Feel your feet. Feel the chair you're sitting in. Understand where you're at. Know where your walls are. Simple things like that. Be self aware and breathe. That's an excellent way to de stress. Or start a yoga practice.
Right.
Journal. Go outside and look at a tree. Just sit in quiet space. And especially when you're eating. We don't want to eat, like go out under a tree, eat your lunch, breathe. I'm like, just manage your stress. And I think that those two things are really important and they're easy and you don't have to spend money. You just
Yeah, you don't have to do
One of the
anything. You
harder
just
logistical problems is setting good boundaries. And I really don't feel like a lot of people understand how to do that. Um, but because I always say this, like COVID was a blessing and a curse. And I learned so much during COVID. But what I really loved about the lockdowns is I had nobody expecting me to do anything for them. And it wasn't because I think that they want me to do it. It's because I think that I want to do this. I have to get to work. I have to go visit my parents. And everybody else was, they probably don't have those expectations, but I have those expectations of myself. So that was the least stress I've ever felt, was because I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have to like do this and do that. I could just be. And I was like, I need to get to that place again, not in lockdown. Not that
Right.
I really stuck around in lockdown. I was one of those people that I kept working, I kept doing my thing, but but I knew other people were just doing their, they're in lockdown and I don't have to worry about them. I'm just going to be in my space. I was like, I have to figure out how to get there again, you know? And like we said last podcast, it's like when you turn 50, you give less Fs. Well, that helps, I can tell you right now, because then I don't feel the pressure. But we put so much pressure on ourselves, and that's a boundary issue. And that's something that I'm working on all the time. And I try to help other people work on that too. So that is the first step of de-stressing.
Okay, I love those suggestions. We don't have a lot of time, but we also just have one more thing to speak about, which we briefly touched, dandruff, dry scalp, dandruff, flakiness. So you both mentioned that it is most likely a gut issue. Um, and it is mirroring itself in the head. So, any suggestions for, I mean, Hava did say, thorough scrubbing of the scalp. It could always be the product that you're using to wash your scalp that could be an issue. Um, Yeast growth in the head is obviously happening in the gut. So that has to be something that is treated inside the body as well as the outside to see the proper results. So you can't just like buy some expensive dandruff wash and expect for it to go away. It's an issue that you're always going to have and always going to have to take care of if you're not taking care of the inside of your body. Any other quick suggestions for dandruff before we sign off?
Well, you can always see when people have a dandruff, they also have other side effects, or either smelly mouths, or they have itchiness behind their ears, or they have some sort of eczema, or they have a fungi over their toes. It's just shows you that the whole combination, it's like it's basically the person needs to really balance his diet and really look on what he eats and drink. And I hear this a lot about these young kids who go to schools or camps and they come back with the flakes and they come so it and they itchy toes and it's all this just shows you that we are off balance, and the whole idea is to bring back the balance. And yeah, so and so vinegar wash helps, but that's not going to help completely, again, because as we mentioned, there are more problems internally that reflect the outside. So it's just even a joke to look, and when the people say I apply this and that and then help my condition, it always goes internally. I know you don't want to hear this anymore, but we'll never stop talking about this, your gut flora, because most diseases begins in there. Until you don't understand, I know there is many other ways to put this in a more fancier way or blame any other issues. No, it unfortunately in this podcast we're gonna drill down about your
The
digestion.
stomach.
You do not understand. I work with masters from all around the world. I just had recently an amazing conversation with a healer in Russia, and all what he done is by teaching, and all what he wrote books about is all about touching your stomach, feeling it. If you feel that you have a problem there, that's it. And most people, they have problems. So again, I know, but we will go back on it. Take care of your gut. Learn how to poop, how to eat. If you have a slight gas, it's a big problem. If you have a digestion, it's a huge problem. If you have a dental issue, that's because of your gut. Everything is a gut. It doesn't matter with what you brush your teeth. If the bacteria in your gut is not good, your teeth will rotten, your hair will fall off, will get grayish and horrible. So it's all about this gut, and probably it's called always back to basics, unfortunately. And there is nothing fancier more than understanding the root of all diseases begins in the gut. And that's what the only thing that I can say. And it's until people will not realize this, I'll never stop speaking about that, because it's a huge process just to learn about that, just to learn. And I recently was in Vegas, and I went to sound, and there was such a beautiful girls, and everybody's running, and I mentioned something, and in a minute there goes, oh my God, the young girl, she right away spoke about the gas, the bloatness. I knew right away that she has an issue. So it's like, it's, this is it. We can't run away from here. So I always want to bring this fancy
Bring it back to
topic.
the stomach. Yeah. I mean, we did a whole podcast on
I know
all
we'll never stop
diseases begin
bringing
with the
back
gut. And we've
information.
always circled back, even our whole 3 series of skin that we did our last big series on, right? It was all
Yeah.
gut issue.
It's just
It just
Now, we
always seems
always
to go there.
say how to combat and how to aid the healing process of a certain issue, but in order to see absolute results and to have a change of life, for your life to actually be changed, and so for these things to go away, is to take care of your stomach and your gut. And we'll do another huge series on stomach.
we will.
uh, yeah, we will. We just have a lot to get through. Sarah, anything about dandruff really quickly that we didn't mention? I think we covered most of
Well,
it,
I
but
think just to mention hair products, I mean, I
right,
was getting dandruff here, and it was this expensive shampoo that I was using.
right.
Right.
So I spent all this money on this shampoo, and it gave me problems. So bye-bye.
Yeah.
And now, but the cheaper stuff gave me problems too. So I'm trying to find a happy medium. And what the heck are they putting in shampoos? It's supposed to be good for your hair and scalp, not doing all this stuff.
Right. And
That's
then
just
the
another,
extremely clean ones are not really cleaning your hair. It's just like a
but it's
whole,
just another aspect of dandruff, that many people might not understand. They love their shampoo, but then they're trying to do all this stuff to the dandruff. But every time they use the same shampoo, they're still getting the dandruff. So it might just be the products that you're using. But of course it's gut. Of course it's something to do with the gut. It's always the gut, it seems. But that's where I
right.
would
And
try. But I also find too that I see a lot of people in consult, and they always ask me what herb is good for this, what herb is good for that, and it always comes down to the food that they eat. And so many people don't want to change their diet because, crackers and cheese are awesome and cookies are cool. And, I'm sorry, but I get up every day and I have toast. I just can't ever change that. And I look at it, sometimes I just look at people and go, then why are you here? Like, if you really want to I don't ever say that to anyone. And it's not, I mean, sometimes I do feel that way, but I understand how hard it is to change your diet. I really do. But it's
Yeah.
like, if you really want change in your life and you want to feel better, you've got to tweak your diet, because having processed foods, too many, like all the breads, the crackers, and the sweet stuff is not serving anyone. And that is one of the main, besides over vaccination, one of the main reasons why we are unhealthy nation, because we go for the fast food and the grossness, and then we take herbal supplements or pills to compensate for it, and it won't work. It won't stick. You have to start with what goes in your mouth.
Right.
That's how I want to.
Well,
and I will
sorry, ladies.
mention
One. Go.
one more thing. It's what Sarah mentioned about the shampoos. It is very, very crucial. And I found that many shampoos that are the cleanest shampoos in many cases can actually cause dandruff because they are detoxifying. You know, because
Okay.
they are basically detoxifying. And so yeah, so I would suggest look something like Sara said, something in the middle, not too expensive and not too cheap. But I will trust companies who are putting their heads on, and this is all what they do is research about the hair health. So that's the only thing that I would add. Like, yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Cool. Well, yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I want to reiterate we're going into the ears, nose, throat, head series part of our podcast, and so we covered the hair today. To next time we'll be covering things like headaches, eye health, um, you know, ears, ear infections, hearing problems, things like that. So we'll be covering like this section of the head.
Sounds good.
Right, we're breaking the head down because there's so much that goes to it. We'll talk about different ways to improve eye health, to treat ear infections or ear problems, earwax, what the plus and minuses of having certain things. And yeah, we really hope you're enjoying the way we're breaking things down. Thank you for joining and listening. We will see you next time on Heal Yourself Naturally. Have a beautiful, bright day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.